When suffering is severe and lasts for years, how does one go about not being angry at God for allowing these things to happen? Is being angry with God ever justified? And this is Valerie. Probably two good questions.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, Valerie, whether anger is justified with God is justified, you know, that gets down into whether one has a voluntary disposition toward anger. And most of the time, frankly, we don't. When we are angry with God during times in our suffering, we're not voluntarily being angry. We're expressing spontaneous frustration or frustration that's pent up within us over a long period of time. And that frustration, you know, we can just dart out. And, you know, I mean, I've done it. You know, as you know, I wrestle with progressive blindness. And you know, and every time, you know, I noticed a change or something like that, I'd always have these little, you know, mini outbursts, you know, or, you know, sometimes, you know, I'd have that Saint Teresa of Avila, you know, if this is how you treat your friends, you no wonder you have so few, you know, and you know, so you can have those outbursts that happen very spontaneously. I mean, I remember once, you know, I used to be able to kind of handle about, you know, I had about 20 airports mastered, and my eyes got so bad that, you know, I started bumping into poles and, you know, doing really stupid stuff. I felt embarrassed, and, you know, I would almost be, grr, you know, I mean, you know, both angry at myself, embarrassed, and, you know, angry at God. But, you know, essentially, God understands completely. He knows what's going on in our lives. He knows that we're feeling loss. He knows that, you know, there's it takes a lot to stay on top of this thing, to keep following the Holy Spirit, to keep our faith moving, and so forth. Even Mother Teresa, right, could had that sense of just being, you know, alone and just, you know, almost like the psalmist. How long? You know, you could say, well, is that kind of frustration? Is that? Yes, I think it fairly can be called frustration. But the main thing to remember is, number one, God understands that frustration and anger. Number two, for yourself and for your faith, you're going to have to choose to move beyond it. There is a point at which you can just dwell in anger. This is not going to be good for you. This is not going to be good for your relationship with God. This is going to literally undermine all the good you can get out of suffering. Don't go there. I mean, there's a certain appropriate kind of time, and eventually you're going to have to make a choice. I did in my own life with the eyesight. You know, I had to choose to do some things that I knew would obviate my frustration. Number one, I knew that if I keep comparing myself to the way I once was, all that's going to do is going to make me angry and frustrated. So I just said one day, I choose not to make comparisons to the way I once was. Now, sometimes it comes up, and I can't control it completely, but I have a lot of control over it now. And I can choose not to do that. I can just choose to, they say, just let it go. Number two, I just recognized that when I compared myself to normal people, right, who could just do this or get in a car and drive, or, you know, not have a reader and so forth and so on, every time I did that, I get frustrated and angry. Why can't I do this? You know, life would be so much easier. I just said, I'm not doing that anymore. I choose not to compare myself to others. Number three, I recognized that every time I had one of those expectations, oh, any day now I'll get a miracle. Any day now, I should get X, Y, and Z from the suffering I'm going through. I should see purification in my love. I should see all the people who are benefiting from the suffering I'm offering up for them. I should see what I call the false expectation syndrome. Because, of course, when you suffer from dashed expectations, you're going to get frustrated and angry. And I just decided I'm not doing that anymore. I choose not to do those things that are going to make me frustrated and angry. And I'm going to give up the old Job complex, where Elihu chastises him. I'm a righteous man. I don't deserve this. That's not the question, I finally learned after a long time. It's not about whether I deserve it or whether I don't deserve it. Suffering is occurring in my life, whether it's by natural laws or something else. What I have to do is accept it in trust of God and look for all the opportunities I can get from it to advance my salvation, others' salvation, to deepen my love, to deepen my faith, to help others deepen their love and deepen their faith, and above all, to offer it up as a self-offering. I accept the cross. I accept the suffering. Stop the question, Spitzer. I mean, I'm talking to myself here, right? I'm not talking to you. No. I'm talking to myself. I'm saying, stop that. I don't deserve it. And when I stop saying that, for all intents and purposes, man, did my anger level go down. But you got to make those choices about expectations. You got to make the choice to get out of the Job complex. I'm a righteous man, I don't deserve it. You got to make the choice not to compare yourself to other people, and you got to make the choice not to compare yourself to the way life once was. And if you can stay away from those things, I'm telling you, your anger level is going to be much, much better. Just replace it with beautiful trust in God and offering it up and looking for the opportunities that will come through the suffering.
Well, I know Father Benedict Rochelle, late great Father Benedict Rochelle, great friend of the network, great Franciscan, used to say in those situations, the question isn't why, the question is what. It's not why I'm suffering, but what am I supposed to do with this situation, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Exactly. So, okay,
I couldn't add to that wisdom, period.
So.